Good morning, good-looking people, and you're good-looking because you're always looking, and of course, you are finding the good in everything and in everybody. Hope you're well. Hope you had a great weekend. Today is the 24th of Adar, and today we're doing the Hayom in this video for the 24th of Adar, Sheni, the second Adar. Very interesting Hayom today. Today we're talking about a prayer that was composed by Reb Nechunya ben Hakana, the author of the Sefer HaBayir, which is one of the earliest Kabbalistic works. And we're talking about a paragraph that we read multiple times a day, known as Ana B'Koyach. Now, Ana B'Koyach is very interesting because if you look at it in the Siddur, in some places you'll see it's got acronyms next to it. And it talks about in the Hayom today that we are not to read those acronyms. We're only to look at them, we can visualize them, but we're not to actually read them. Now, talking about these acronyms and what's going on in this Hayom. First of all, it says that there are 42 words in Ana B'Koyach. If you were to take the first letter of all 42 words, you would end up with the 42 letter name of God. It's known as Shem Mab. Mab is Mem and Beis, which is 42. It's known as the 42 letter name of God. Now, what's also interesting about 42 represents the number of journeys that the Jewish people had when they left Egypt until they came to Eretz Yisrael. So when we read this Hayom today, we're talking about a couple of things. One is we're talking about this paragraph, about visualizing it, not saying it, and what goes on really behind the scenes into this paragraph. We're talking about the number 42 and how it applies both to the words in the paragraph, the God's name, because it's the first 42 letters of all those words, the 42 journeys in the wilderness. And now there's something even more interesting. If you were to actually look at this Hayom in the Hebrew, you will see, and I don't know how many others are like this, but there's actually a dash in between the reading. It says here, Ba'amiras Ana B'Koyach Tzarich L'Rois, there's a dash, and then it says, Oy L'Tzayer B'Machshava, and then it continues with the rest of it. If you actually counted the letters in the Hayom in Hebrew, there's 55 letters. However, in between these dashes, if you took out these three words, you actually end up with 42 letters. So when the Rebbe put this Hayom together, he was even being exact in the wording that we have 42 letters in the Hayom in Hebrew. Let's read it inside, and then we'll go to the message of the day. So for the 24th of Adar, Sheni, it says here when reciting the prayer beginning Ana B'Koyach, one should look at or visualize the divine names formed by the initial letters of the words, but they should not be articulated. So here's one message that we can take from the day. Focusing on these 42 journeys that the 42 journeys that the Jewish people had when they left Egypt. We say this Ana B'Koyach multiple times a day. Every time it says, first of all, every person is obligated to know that they should treat each day as if they left Egypt, that they came out of Egypt. When we say Ana B'Koyach, knowing that this also corresponds to the 42 journeys, it's another way for us to connect to us leaving Egypt, knowing that every day we leave Egypt, and that we have our own Egypt inside of us. We wrestle every day. We're trying to get better, to make ourselves better, for self-improvement. So when we read the Ana B'Koyach, it's also to reflect to ourselves, this is our coming out of Egypt, and that we need to work to leave our own Egypts, which are spiritual issues or intellectual or psychological or anything else that we're dealing with inside. Those are our Egypts. So our job is to have our own exodus from our Egypt. And as we read Ana B'Koyach, this should be something that we can tap into to help us do that in our own personal lives. Have a wonderful day. Have a great and successful week. We will talk more tomorrow.